So before you start, Komi, I'd just like to introduce yourself. Thank you, Komi, for being part of this bootcamp, first of all, and willing to share your expert knowledge with this community. Uh, Now, Komi is going to share insights on Azure DevOps board, which will be beneficial to our current and future project managers in tracking the progress of the project. So this being the last session of the day, I would request everyone and even recommend everyone to stay back. Even post session, we will have a Q&A sessions with Komi, and post that we will have a small quiz. It's more of an interactive quiz, and I would recommend everyone to stay back and enjoy the quiz. It's more of a fun rather than exam, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So with that, I will hand over the mic to Komi, and the stage is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So in few minutes, I'll be turning on my camera so that I can show my face. But before that, I would just do a little introduction about myself. My name is Komi. So let me share the screen. Okay. So please let me know if you can see the screen. Can you please see the screen?
Yes, Komi, we are able to see the screen. You may proceed.
Okay, good. Okay, good. All right. So I would say thank you very much for the Indian team for giving me the opportunity to be part of this. Uh, um, so my name is Komi Siabi. I am a Microsoft certified trainer. I work with a company in Nigeria, and I work with a number of clients across the world. So I work with on Microsoft business applications like EX 2012. I worked with EX in 2009, EX7, EX 1611, and also Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. So being a technical functional consultant, I've been able to play the role of functional consultant and at the same time play the role of a technical consultant. And I've been able to interact with Microsoft Azure where we deploy and hosts D365 F4 environment. And in the course of that, I've been able to work with Azure DevOps. So with Azure DevOps, we've been able to track our task. So in a project, for instance, we have tasks that are assigned to functional consultants. We also have tasks that are assigned to technical consultants. And the project manager is able to track each of these tasks with Azure DevOps. So we've tried to make use of Azure DevOps to track this task, and we discover that it's a platform or a tool that gives visibility to what is happening in a project. So I'm going to be sharing the browser so I can show us. So my slide doesn't really have much, so I'll just go straight to the point where I'll be showing us how we can go about it. So when we talk about Azure DevOps, so DevOps simply means development and operations, right? So in a project where you have technical consultants, they are developing the system and there are operations that are also going on. So we have operations like we have processes where the functional consultants sit with the client to discuss the business in total. And we are able to come up with documents like the Aziz. Then from there, we drive into the To Be document. From To Be, we have the UAT up to when we go live. So we can create each of these tasks, right, on DevOps. So to access the DevOps, we simply do devs.azure.com. So there we can create things like tasks, we can create user stories, so on and so forth. So on this homepage, right? I can sign into Azure DevOps. So what do I need to sign into Azure DevOps? You simply need a Microsoft account. Even with your Outlook account, you can log on to Azure DevOps or your Office 365 account. So here, I'm going to use my Outlook account to log on. So when you log in, right, we have to create what we call an organization. So it's inside the organization that we have different projects. And in this project, we can invite our project members. So I just log on. So this is going to authenticate. So DevOps, well, we all have the notion that DevOps is used for technical guys to develop solutions, right? So here I'm saying that DevOps is not only for the developers, it can also be used by the project management team. So here on the homepage, I have the organization, which is Smart P Dev Team. Then I have a project. So I can create a new organization. And in this organization, I can create projects. So to create a new organization, I click on this here. I click on new. So I'm going to call this new organization India org. Then here we can pick the region or data center in which we want to host this project. So DevOps, we have DevOps that can be on the cloud, and we also have the on-premise version of Azure DevOps. So there, for the on-premises, there are some infrastructure and some things we need to install on our internal servers to be able to host these files. So what that simply means is anything we are pushing, be it our codes, our task, will be hosted internally. But when you're doing the cloud version, this is going to be hosted by Microsoft data centers. So here, it says this already exists. So I'm just going to add Komi at the end. I'm sure this is going to go through. Then just put this to authenticate. Then I say continue. So I will have my project created. Then my organization is created rather. Then in it, I can create a project. All right, good. So we have this created. Now he's asking me to create a new project to get started. So we could have a public project. We could also have a private one. So here, let's name this project D365 FO. So let's move. So when you are creating a project, you have to also select the type of project. I'm just going to refresh this. Then let's try again. I hope we're together. Okay, good. Come back here. Good. So this is what I was looking for. So I have this, which is enabled now. So I'm going to go back and say D365 FO. Then I can put a description. All right, so here we have Git and we have Team Foundation version control. So if you're a developer, we already have a version control version, a type, which is Git. And we also have the Git can be used for any type of project. And for the team version control, we basically use this for our Dynamics 365 operation project. So if we are creating this project to manage our source code for D365FO, we want to make sure that we pick Team Foundation version control. So if you're a developer in the house, I'm sure you know this already. If you pick something else, you might have some issues when you're deploying your development environment. So here we have the work item process, which could be Agile, Basic, Scrum. So this is based on the implementation project that the project team has agreed upon. All right, so here I'll pick the basic and I say create project. think there is a broken link. Okay, so this is created. Good. So now I've been able to create an organization, and in this organization, I've been able to create a project. So when I open this project, I have some menus here. I have boards, I have repo, pipeline, test plan, artifact. So the last four that I mentioned are for developers. Then what we are interested in here is the board. So we have work items, we have backlog, sprints, queries, delivery plans. Now, I'm going to click on the work items. So here, this is where the project manager is going to create the task and assign them to project members. Now, before doing that, I need to make sure that I invite my project members into this Azure DevOps project. How do I do that? So on the top bottom here, under project settings, you would see where we can bring in the members and also where, so here I have Siabi, which is the administrator. I can add a new administrator. Then when I come to teams, so by default, we have a team which is created, and we have a member by default, which is, of course, the person that created the project. So when I come here, I can click on this team and add new members, or I can create a team. Say, for instance, I want to have a team for functional. So I can create functional here. And inside here, I can add members. Now, we can add members that belong to the same tenant. So when I say tenant, for instance, I have a company name that calls homisiabi.com, and I can have a member called homie@homisiabi.com. So there, I'm easily able to see other stuff that belong to the same tenant when I click on this. I can also add external members as well. So once they are added, they will receive an email notification in their Outlook saying that, okay, they've been added into a project and they can contribute. Now, here, having added the members, then when I come back to the boards under work item here, I can create my task. So here, another thing that is very important, like I mentioned earlier, is the work item process type. So while creating the project, I picked basic. So with basic, these are the work items that I have available. So I have Epic, I have issues, then I have task. So when you pick a work item process, like Agile, for instance, we will have, in addition to this, we have things like user stories. All right. So to create a new task, I can click on task here. Then I'm going to put the task. So here I can say setup. So let's say this is the task is talking about an administrative 5FO. So I can say setup organization administration module. All right. So here I can assign this to a user. So here I'm meant to see the users. Okay. So here, say I have a user that I assigned this to. The system is able to send a notification directly to that user saying you've been assigned this task, right? And the good thing is we can easily integrate this also with Microsoft Teams. So once this is created, an email is automatically dropped in Microsoft Teams telling the user that you've been assigned this task, which is set up organization administration module, uh, maybe for this client. And the client in this case is for India called Home, right? Now, the user also has access to the Azure DevOps. And once I am done setting up the organization administration module, I can easily come back here and say, this is done. And an email is also sent not only to the project manager, but also to all the team members in that project. So everybody at every point in time is seeing what is happening. So I don't have to come back to Komi and say, Komi, hi, what about the task that you were given? Everything is done there. And another thing here is we can add descriptions, and you can also add images. So let's just copy a quite some description here and paste in there. So I'm just going to get some snippets. Then if I have images, I can also embed those images in the description. Now, another thing is we can also mention other colleagues. So here, this is a description, and here, so now when I click on ads, the system is going to show all the emails or users that belong to the same tenant. Here, because I'm using an Outlook, I'm not able to see all the tenants. If I'm using a domain name, I will see all the users and I can mention them and say for instance, at Rakesh, I just, or I'll say I am unable to complete the setup because of number sequence missing. So immediately an email is sent to Rakesh saying that, hey, you need to update the number sequence so that Komi can proceed with setting up the organization model. Now, while creating the work item, another thing we have is we can also link work items to parent work items. So here, for instance, setting up the organization model is the parent work item. And I have to create a new work item where I need to create legal entities, for instance. So while creating that work item, I can then link the parent work item. So here, I can see add an existing work item as parent. So on this add link here, so we can see the work item that I created earlier, and I can also add comments if I need to do so. So I can leave this. Good. Now here, we can easily personalize this page. So here we have recently updated. I can see recently my activities. Good. So here, this has been completed and it's hidden. So this feature allows us to see uh, only the work items that are currently ongoing or that are pending, right? And if I say I want to see the ones that have been completed already, I can also see them here. Now, another feature we have here that I'll talk on is the queries. So before that, let me create a new work item so I can show us how the query comes into play. The good thing is with these work items, we can draw dashboards that show graphical form of how many work items do we have in total for this particular project, how many of them are assigned to Komi, how many of them are assigned to Rakesh, and out of the one assigned to Komi, how many have been started, how many of them are ongoing, and how many of them have been completed. So at a glance, we can see this dashboard embedded in Microsoft Teams that at a point, we already know who is lagging behind. So let me click create a new task here, and I'll call this create finance to be document. Save. Okay, so here so far I have two different uh, work item. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the bots. Yeah, so here dashboard. Okay, so this is just a welcome message. Good. So by default, we have a dashboard that comes as overview. We can create new dashboard. Then we can decide to customize this dashboard if we want to. So here I can see add a new widget. And in this widget, we already have some predefined templates that can help us to add the widget we want. So here we have a child for work items. So here, when I say add, for instance, so I can configure this. So click on configure. So here, good. So here, this is where our queries will come into play. So I have to create my queries. Once the queries are created, I can use them for my dashboard. So let's go back to the queries. Come to bots, queries. So here I can say new query. So I have a wide number of clauses that I can add here to query my data. So if I want everything to come at a go, what I will simply do is to remove all of these clauses and I say run query. So this will show the work items that are available. So if I want to see only the ones that are done, what I will do is I will say come here, then I will say the state of the work item is what I'm interested in. Click on state, the operator here, then under the value, I would say done. So once that is done, I click on run query, then I have only one item. So is this query that I'm going to save to be able to configure the dashboard that I was talking about. So here, I'm going to save this query and click on save. Then I'm saving it under shared query. Then here, I'm going to say done work items. Then I click on OK. Voila. Now let's create a second query and we'll see how those two will come up on our dashboard. So here, I'm going to delete this clause, run. Now I have two work items. Then I'm going to save as all work items. Then I'm saving that also under shared query. Then I say, okay. Now I have two work items, queries. Now I'm going back to my dashboard. All right. Now we're going to configure this widget. So here I'm calling this all work item. Then under the query, we have shared queries. Then I have all work items. So here I have the chart type. If I want it to be pi, so let me use pi. Then I'm going to group these by states. Good. So you can see what I have here. So I have two work items in total, but then I have one which is done, and I have the other one which is to do. So here I can click on save. So the same way I was able to create my query based on the state, I can also create the queries based on assigned to. So if I have 3 assigned to Komi, so here instead of having done, it's going to show that, okay, Komi has 2 here, and probably Rakesh has 3 work items that have been assigned to him. Okay, we have any concerns so far? Are we following? Are we together? Can anyone hear me? Okay, good. I can see. Good. All right. So let's come back to the overview. So for me to go back to see all the projects I have in my organizations, I can easily click on here on the organization, then I have the different projects. Now I come back to project here. So I have a kind of project statistics here at a glance that shows that, okay, on my board, I have two work items that have been created. I have one that's been completed in the last 7 days, and I can also extend it to the last 30 days as well. Then here I have the members and the so on. Um, Today, I'm not going to show us how we can easily integrate these two teams, but just a little breakdown is the account that I'm using to create the DevOps should be the same one that I'm using to log on is to Azure DevOps. So it should be on the same tenant. So the system is able, the team, Microsoft Teams rather, is able to automatically sync your teams with DevOps. So if we are used to Teams, when you go to your channel, you can easily add more widgets on Teams. So there, this dashboard here, the overview one, it's what is going to show up. So when I pick this, automatically I'm able to see these things on Teams. Now, another good feature is that let's edit this. Instead of me coming into DevOps to create tasks, project managers can also easily create tasks from Microsoft Teams, and automatically they are reflected here. So here we have new work item. So once I'm able to add this, right? Once I add this here and I call up on Teams, I can easily add the title of the task I want to create. So it's either is an issue, is a task, or is an epic. Then I can easily put in the work item. So once that is done, I can then also assign the work item to whoever I want to assign that to. So this will bring me to the end of the short session overview on how we can make use of Azure DevOps to make our project management works much more easier. Okay, so I'll give it back to Rakesh.
Thank you so
Okay,
much, Komi.
Shabir. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
thank you so
Shabir.
much, Komi. Yeah, so there are a couple of questions on chat, Komi, if you would like to answer them. The first question is from Chandrasekhar, and he's asking about how to add calendar to DevOps to track working days. Maybe you can throw some light on it.
Okay, calendars for working days. All right, so we have, so under the project settings, there is where we can adjust. So let's come here. So the process. So on the process, what is obtainable currently is when I'm creating the task here, we can put a start date and also put an end date, right? So when that end date is elapsed, we can receive a notification. By default, you don't have that available. You have to come back to the process you picked and you have to customize that. So here you can see, I'm going to make this a little bit bold. Okay, so here Microsoft says system process cannot be customized. So you can actually add a customization, right? When you click on this link, so it takes you to, learn more. So here we have details on how we can customize our processes to accommodate the date range. So when you are creating the task, you should be the one to specify when that should start and also when that to end, considering, of course, the holidays and the weekends. I hope I'm able to answer that question.
Yeah, I believe Chandrasekhar, that question is answered now. There is also one more follow-up question, Komi, uh, from Chandrasekhar himself. Also, how to add custom field on any task with labels.
Okay, so let me go back to the task. We come to work items. All right, so here on this list page, right, we can edit this page to have more fields. So come here. Okay, good. Colon option. So here we can add colons. So these are the default fields that Microsoft gives. So you can add more of them here on this list page. Then when you open the task itself, so here we can customize this. So it all boils down back to the process, right? So on this process here, I can add new fields and those fields will be available when I'm creating task. So I hope I'm able to answer that question as well.
I'm sure you must have, Komi. Chandrasekhar, does that answer your question? Maybe a quick chat would help. Yes, I believe it has helped him. We do have a couple of minutes left, Komi, and I can see just one last question on the chat from Kunal. Could you please help us know about how to add the action columns such as area, iteration, state in your boards?
Okay, in the board, area, iteration state in your board. Okay, so let's come back to our project. So we come back to the dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to edit this, right? Let's say we want to add, so this one, all work item. I'm going to edit this. So when you are grouping, you are able to select what you want to group by. I think you have assigned to work type. Okay, good. So I think the best way to do this is when you are creating your queries, let's come back to query. So let's do new query. Under new query here, we have we have the area parts. So here I can specify the area parts if I have created. So by default, your project name comes as area part, so you can create area parts. So there's a project I did where my area parts, I use the modules as the area part. So for instance, I can have an area part called finance. So it depends. I can have an area part called human resource. So here I can filter this based on the area parts and save it as a query. The same thing happens to the iterations. Then when you go back to the dashboard, you make sure that you group by area parts or you group by iteration, just like we did by grouping by the state of that work item. All right. Kunal, am I able to respond to answer?
Yeah, so Kunal, I hope that answers your question as well. Komi, I can see the questions are just coming up as in when you are kind of answering one of them. So I would say this should be the last question. I know we cannot take all the questions at this point of time, but then let's try to answer as much as possible. Is it possible to configure a reminder on a work item? And this is an interesting question.
Yeah, so a reminder on the work item. Well, so far I haven't been able to do that. But what I have been able to do is that we have notifications, and in the sense that these notifications are done, you can set notifications based on work items. But reminders, I haven't been able to do that yet. Well, I don't know if that is available currently. I'm going to do more research, probably so that we can communicate to Indranil if that is obtainable for. But based on my experience so far, I've not been able to configure reminders for work item.
All right. I would suggest, Komi, that if you can maybe share your LinkedIn details on the chat or a way to connect for the audiences so that they can kind of get their answers clarified directly with you,
Okay, that's
if it is
fine.
possible.
Yeah, it's very much possible. So I don't think if I put that on my slide was actually not well
Mhm.
done. So I have a blog where I do post some of my experiences based on challenges that I come across. So I post them here on blog.bushirina.com. Then I'll please show my LinkedIn as well. So I forgot to say that I think myself and Rakesh met on the Dynamics community where um, we try to answer questions. And I would say I've been an active member lately where I've been able to provide solutions to some of the answers. So I'm quickly going to share that. So my profile is there. Just a second.
In fact,
So my
I
LinkedIn.
would like to add one more thing here, Komi, to everyone that
Okay.
this month Komi was a community star. I think you can navigate to community.com and you will find Komi is, doing really great work. Let me just quickly share my screen so that everyone can see. So this is a
Thank
community
you.
and organized by Microsoft, community.com. A bunch of sections are here, user group and as well as blogs and everything. As you can see, our user groups also exist in the same section. But if you look at Komi here, so this month Komi has been awarded by Microsoft as a Community Spotlight Award. And let me tell you very frankly, it is not an easy task. It's very dedication is required. A lot of aspects is required because he has answered close to 10,000 plus questions and queries, Komi, if I understood correctly.
Yes, Rakesh.
Correct. So that's the reason Microsoft has awarded this particular tag and the badge. Soon he'll get his goodies and all. But I think kudos to you, Komi. You are really doing a lot of things for the community. I think a lot of things to be learned from you and other community star members. No doubt about it, Komi.
Thank you very much, Rakesh, for the opportunity. I'm really grateful to the whole India Microsoft business community for giving me the opportunity. And I would like to recognize Andre and also my great friend Bilu, which is also on the call. Thank you very much.
Yes, Komi. What an incredible session, Komi, to be frank enough. Being a technical architect myself, I can say for sure, even I have learned some new features of Azure DevOps, and which will definitely help me during my project implementation. And I can vouch that even others must be feeling the same way right now. And we really appreciate your time and efforts shown towards the community. And I must say, it's not an easy task to be recognized by Microsoft as a star contributor. So thank you so much for your time. It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.